Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and today I want to chat with you guys a little bit about why every element in your programming, if it's good training programming, has a synergy between it. And that people have to stop thinking in terms of, well, I tried this method or that method, but did you try it in a correct program, programmed correctly? If you didn't, it doesn't matter. And what you guys will watch on each one of these exercises I'm going to do, I start with a max effort lift, and then I go to a dynamic effort lift. Then you'll see me do some sort of higher rep volume assistance movement, and then I'll tend to do like some rep accessory work after. And the reason I'm doing that is that it shows that these are all things done in the same training week, and they're all woven together. So you guys just watched me do a max close grip bench press with a buffalo bar with like 352. Okay. Then I'm doing speed bench here. Now these are done on separate days in the same training week, right? And that one's a little slower. That's one of the early sets in it. So it's a little slower, but the speed bench still tends to be fairly fast. And again, people can watch what I do with it in general. And then you see here me doing really high rep floor pressing with a wide grip. Okay. So you look at these sort of things and say, some guys will say, well, max effort work doesn't work. Dynamic effort work doesn't work. High rep work doesn't work for me. They'll say all of this nonsense, or they'll even say, oh, single joint exercises just don't make me stronger. It's like, well, yeah, if that's the only thing you do, you dumbass. But what's the rest of your program look like built around it? Because these are all things that are proven to work. Plenty of extremely elite athletes in a lot of different sports incorporate these elements. Some of the best coaches in the entire world, strength coaches in the world, who coach some of the best athletes in the world, use all of these methods. What do you mean they don't work? Well, maybe you're not doing them right. Maybe you're lazy. Maybe you don't know how to write your own program and you need to pay someone to do it for you. But watch these things that I do right here. They all contribute together. Right, so what did I do there? You saw me do max bench, speed bench. Then I did high rep floor presses, which is, again, a big assistance movement. And then I'm doing tricep extensions to, again, take one of the weak links in my pressing strength and to put meat on it. Okay, hypertrophy work. So you've seen all of these elements here, and there'll be plenty of people who say, oh, well, these don't work. One of them doesn't work. It didn't work for me, but it has to work in context and in synergy. And if you do these things correctly, they feed into each other. So you take something like the tricep extensions. Well, I tend to be a little weak on my bench press lockouts. Okay. What happens with that? It feeds the floor press, because in the floor press, I tend to be weak on the lockouts. And if my floor press gets stronger, all my benching gets stronger because it builds all the muscles of the bench in a very specific way that carries over to the bench, the stricter version of the bench. And you see the speed bench, which builds technique, it builds explosiveness, builds power off the chest, and then the maxes teach you how to actually max. They build intramuscular coordination. These things all feed into each other. There's a synergy created. A synergy, for those who aren't familiar with the word, it's when the sum total of something is more than the equal parts. So it's a case of, again, I hate to use a 1984 reference, but 2 plus 2 equaling 5. Well, it works in this case. Same thing. You just watched my bench. You watched me do a 552 box squat. And for those curious, because some people say, well, I think for your weight, that's not good. It's a box squat, first of all, not a back squat. You can back squat more than you box squat. And it's over 2.5 times my body weight. For a dude in his 40s, that's decent. And I'm still getting stronger. Then we see the speed bench against chains. Right? People say, well, speed squat against chains doesn't work for raw lifters. Well, how do you think I built that 552 box squat? Okay, what do you think built it? Do you think I come in? I don't squat heavy. I squat heavy every couple of weeks for 1 rep. Then come in behind really high rep good mornings. And for those curious, it's a lot of chain weight added to that. That's pretty much 232 on the bar with chains added. And it's around 60 pounds of chains. So even with the other chain added, it's about 240 at the bottom, 290 or so at the top, because there's still chain hanging. So it's not, the chain is not all on the ground. All right, 290 at the top. I do 20 reps with this. People will come in and say, well, high rep good mornings don't work. Really? Well, I deadlift well over 600 pounds and I squat close to 6 now. I'll pass a 600 pound squat. Okay. The goal will be to get to a triple body weight squat. So, you don't think these don't work, really? Kind of point that out. Well, how many people out there watching can do well past 200 pounds for sets of 20s on good mornings? Okay. My max on these is over 500 pounds also, because I max on this lift also. So they all feed together. They all feed together, and then what do you see behind it? I come back through behind again, and you'll see some high rep reverse hypers, which build the lower back, glutes, hamstrings, all necessary for support on the squat. Glutes contribute as a primary mover. People can argue about the support, how much the other two muscles contribute. But again, lower back health. There's a synergy between this though. But what happens? The reverse hypers help feed the good mornings. If the good morning gets stronger, the squat gets stronger, because a good morning does what? A good morning works every muscle involved in a squat other than the quads. Okay? Every muscle other than the quads gets worked. So we create a synergy between all these things. And then the speed squats obviously build your technique, a lot of your musculature, the other muscles that might not be getting hit with the other supplemental work like the quads. And I do other quad work. Do a lot of sled drags. And they teach you to get explosive and drive through on the squat. And they teach you to set up over and over and over. Same thing here. Max work. People say maxing every week doesn't work. Okay, well, I just did a 625 deficit deadlift. That's 2.9 times my body weight off of deficit. Again, I'll be past 3 this year. Speed pulls with chains in this case. Speed pulls. Dynamic effort. People will again say, well, dynamic effort doesn't work. Well, really, what do you think builds my ability to follow through and set up correctly on my deadlifts? And they're far easier to recover from. So then again, supplemental work. Supplemental work, what do we have? 20 rep sets on the glute ham raise. Again, how many people will say high reps don't work? I don't get stronger from doing really high reps. Okay, why not? Every study we've ever looked at says a bigger muscle has more strength potential. Plenty of studies show that this is a very effective way to grow and still recover. And it's not like, again, if you get strong, not like you're using a lightweight. A lot of people can't do a reverse hyper on a hard setting for even 1 rep, let alone multiple sets of 20. We then come through and build all the musculature. We build the muscles of the deadlift. All right? We use max work to learn to strain, to build the intramuscular coordination to lift 1 rep max lifts, to build confidence. Speed work is where we develop most of our technique and setup. And we learn to explode and get tight. Learn to drive through our sticking points. Then all this other supplemental work builds all the muscles up. And it's not to say you don't build muscle from the other stuff. Of course you do. You build muscle from speed work. Plenty of guys get jacked as soon as they start doing speed work. They notice gains really fast if they've never done it before, of hypertrophy. The same thing. 20 rep sets here with 265 on a good morning. I can assure you that will build your posterior chain and back. It will build all of your erectors, thoracic erectors, spinal erectors, glutes, hamstrings, abductors, calves. Okay? We create a synergy between all these things. It's not about the one specific thing you do in your training. I said everything creates a synergy with everything else. And that includes everything that you do. If one thing gets messed up, it affects everything else downstream. No part of your training works in isolation, and if something goes wrong, it's probably one thing bad you did somewhere else that trickled downstream. All right? We create a synergy and a flow in our training. This is why this training system works. It's why stuff like conjugate works. We create a synergy. There's a sequential synergy between everything that you do. It's not the one specific thing. Guys will say, oh, well, this doesn't work or this works. Well, it's very context specific with how does it all fit with the rest of your program. If you're looking at the individual variable, you're never going to get anywhere with training. Well, you'll get somewhere, but you're not going to be ridiculously strong. You're not going to be lifting elite numbers. You're not going to reach your maximum muscle potential. You're not going to reach any of those things. Okay? We have to train smart and we have to train hard. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.